Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking the most difficult boss fights in Elden Ring Nightreign on a tier list. After taking down some of these bosses multiple times here, I want to give my opinions on them, as some bosses are a little bit more difficult than others, and I'm going to be using the S tier as the most difficult bosses in the game, and the D tier being the easiest. The first one we'll be working on is the Tricephalos boss fight, or the Gladius Beast of the Night. This boss is a great tutorial boss, teaching the mechanics of how bosses can split up to do different attacks at you, and you gotta all focus on staying alive. But I don't think that this boss is that difficult at all. After doing it solo a few times, it's really not that bad. You can easily take it down if you have a holy weapon, which are usually some easy weapons to find, fire and holy being two of the most common, from my experience, camps that you can find in the game, so you won't have any issue with finding a holy weapon. I find that the best nightfarers to take on Gladius are both the Raider and Iron Eye. Recluse is also a good choice here if you're able to get some holy spells. And what makes this fight not that bad is whenever the boss is split up, you can still deal damage to all three of them, so you can still get your damage in. As long as you know to avoid the chain whip attacks that it does, you'll be more than fine. So overall, I do think that the Gladius Beast of the Night, or Tricephalos, is not that hard. So it could be anywhere from a C to a D tier. I do think it's pretty easy, and if I do it solo, it's easy enough to solo to this point. If you want to have an easy time with this, play as Raider. I think they make the easiest work of this boss with the retaliate ability, but overall, not that challenging, so I'm going to put this into the D tier just to try and keep this list as balanced as possible. Next, we got ourselves Gaping Jaw. Adel, Baron of the Night fight is actually pretty tough if you don't know to bring a poison weapon. It'll do this attack where it bites you and grabs on your character, and you have to mash buttons to get free from it, or have your teammate do a poison attack on you. So this boss is a little bit difficult for that matter, because it's a little hard to dodge its attack. This is another fight where Iron Eye does very good, because you can stay at a distance, and when it lunges at you with its wide open jaw, you can use your mark dash, which gives you insane amounts of mobility and invincibility frames to avoid this boss altogether. So if you're playing as Iron Eye, you can make easy work of this boss. If you're playing as one of the more tanky characters, you can soak up some of those hits when it grabs you, and you want to get bleed resistant. So if you can find any of the boluses during the day that will reduce the bleed damage that you take, this can be very useful here, as you will get hit with one stack of bleed if you didn't use one of the items during the day. So this boss, I see a lot of people having issues with it because it does have a huge area of effect attack. Unfortunately, on one of my first attempts at this boss, I had my entire team go down to a lightning attack, which was definitely frustrating to say the least, but I do think once you get to know its mechanics, when it's charging up its large lightning attack, you can run away from it, and it doesn't have as large of an area of effect as some other bosses like the Augur boss fight, so you can run away from its attacks. It is a challenging one, but once you get the mechanics down, playing Iron Eye makes this really easy with their dash, allowing you to slide right through this boss. And overall, you just gotta focus on staying alive whenever you're the target of this boss, and just let your teammates wail on to try and grab his aggro. So I would have to say that the Adel, Baron of the Night is probably around the B tier. Once you get comfortable with the dodge roll against this fight, it's not that challenging, and knowing to run away during certain attacks will help you with if your teammates go down because they didn't know, because it's happened to me a few times where a whole team got wiped against this boss, so that can definitely happen. But as long as you're paying attention to where it's at, you won't have too bad of a problem with it. Next, we got ourselves the Equilibrious Beast, Libra, Creature of the Night. I do think this is one of the more challenging bosses, mainly because it's weak to madness weapons, and the hardest weapons to find in this game are madness weapons. So that adds another difficulty to this fight. You can use incantations and spells against this fight. So I think two of the better fighters for the Libra boss fight is to bring the Recluse or the Revenant, as they're able to cast holy spells a little bit better, or the madness spells a little bit better with high faith skills. So this boss is kind of like a bullet hell. There's a lot of projectiles flying around. One of the big things is whenever he puts up the seals, you have to break them all, and that's kind of challenging, but you can use Iron Eye's ultimate to be able to break them all in a single go. Wilder also has a really good job of it, or if you break the boss's posture. This is a few different ways that you can take this down. I think the best fighters for this are either Wilder, Raider, and then any spellcaster as mentioned, but also Iron Eye is always really good. Just unfortunately there's no madness based weapons, so he does miss out on that. And whenever you use madness against Libra, you're able to take it out of its spell casting phase and putting it into its pull attacking phase, which is a lot easier. So yeah, Libra, Creature of the Night, overall I do think it's a really challenging one due to the mechanics, and the madness is really challenging too. And if you find this boss, like all these bosses can be found throughout the game in the overworld, and this boss is one of the worst because it takes a good chunk of your health, 1/3 of your health bar, and you have to pay 35,000 runes to get rid of that, which sucks. Or you can fight the boss, and it's a challenging fight. So yeah, it's a tough final boss. It's also a tough field boss. I think that this is one of the ones that people are having the most trouble with. It's probably around the A to S tier. If you can find Vike's Spear, you're going to be in for a good time. That's the only madness weapon in the game, though. So other than that, you got to rely on spells. And just, it's a tough fight. It did get patched today, and it should have a less tendency to spam someone's moveset. So that'll hopefully make it a little bit better. Next, we got ourselves the Augur boss fight, or Maris Fathom of the Night. What makes this fight pretty easy overall is the simple mechanics. It doesn't have a whole lot of health. Its attacks are pretty easily telegraphed. You can see when it's doing a rushing attack to do the water at your character. It does have a sleep bomb attack. It's more so a knowledge check than an actual skill check. As long as you know to attack the balls that it drops that puts sleep on your entire team, you'll end up with a pretty easy time. Also, look for the sleep camps during the day so that you can get the boluses to get rid of your sleep buildup or reduce the amount of sleep buildup that you do get, which can make a huge difference in this fight. It's also weak to lightning damage, so if you're able to get any type of lightning spell, those can work very well here too. But you can also attack the areas that or any of the things that it drops. So the tentacles that come out of the ground, you can attack them and damage it. And you can also attack the little jellyfish that it sends at you. So attack all the projectiles that it sends towards you and focus on that sleep bomb attack. As long as your teammates know to attack the sleep bomb when it does it, you're not going to have too hard of a time with this fight. And for that, I would have to say it is a little bit more challenging than the Tricephalos fight. So I'm going to put in the C tier because you can have your entire team get wiped by that sleep attack. So yeah, it's not as hard as some of the others on this list. So I'm going to put it probably around the C tier. And next we got ourselves the Gnoster Wisdom of the Night, or the Sentient Pest fight. Now, I would actually say this is one of the best fights to do after you got Tricephalos down. It's honestly one of From Software's best dual fighter fights. So if you go against, when we're going against two characters, because there's the lobster scorpion type enemy that is not weak to fire, and then there's the moth that is weak to fire. You'll attack the pincher lobster style enemy until it hardens itself up and gets a huge defense, and then you want your whole team to focus on the moth and try to use fire damage if possible. If you split it between this, it's not too challenging, and then once it gets below half health, it'll fuse together, and it does this rushing attack, but as similar to the Gaping Jaw strategy that we use with the Iron Eye using their dash or any type of mobility. You can do that on this boss as well. It'll rush forwards, but easily telegraphed. This is a boss where it's a little bit better to sprint as well, and that's one of the themes with some of these bosses. It's better to sprint than to just spam dodge roll like you might have used in Elden Ring, the regular game. But as long as you're using fire on one of your weapons, which you can get from the Tricephalos fight, you'll not have the hardest time here. I do know a lot of people are having issues with Sentient Pest, so I do realize there is some challenges to this fight, but I didn't find it too bad. I think it's a little bit easier. I might put it in the B tier below Gaping Jaw. I think Gaping Jaw is a little bit more challenging than the Sentient Pest. But from my videos and people's experience that I've been talking to, a lot of people do struggle with this one, so it could even be like higher B tier or the A tier, but we're going to put it below the Gaping Jaw. Next we got Fulghor, which is one of the hardest fights, Champion of Nightglow, or the Darkdrift Knight. Now, what's hard about this boss is it has a huge area of effect in front of it. I actually got a really good run here where we beat this boss in under 3 minutes, and that was the quickest that I've seen a boss go down. So you can actually beat it down pretty quick and easily. You can check out my video guide on how to beat this boss if you want to see a quick and easy strategy. I think Raider works the absolute best here because he's able to tank the attacks and deliver the punchbacks as well. This boss rushes forwards a lot, but it's kind of sneaky in how it actually moves around. It's not going to be as pressureful as some of the other bosses that we fight, like Heolstor, the final boss. So what makes this fight the most, I would say, hard is that it's coming at you at all times with this large front sweeping attack. I would recommend sticking as close to possible as you can to this boss. That reduces its one thing that heads over you with the huge hitbox on its attacks. And if you dodge roll towards it and to the side, you can stay out of the range of its attacks. Raider again being a really solid choice. But Iron Eye, I was able to find lightning grease from a lightning camp. So if you can't find the weapon, grab the grease and hold it for the whole game. Where the lightning grease comes in handy is if you have an any type of weapon skill that's able to apply it. So the rain of arrows being one of the best for this, you can apply lightning and basically stun the boss repeatedly by using the strategy. So there are ways to take it down a little bit easier, which I have posted on my channel. But I actually think that this one is I beat both both the Equilibrious Beast Libra and Fulghor Champion of the Night a couple times now, and I do think that I think the Fulghor might be a little bit more challenging, so I might put this one in the S tier just to try and keep this list balanced, as this one be a struggle if you don't have lightning weapons, or if you're having a hard time getting hit by attacks. If it changes aggro onto your healers, or your mages, is able to take them down really quickly. So you have to watch out for that, but Iron Eye works very well there with the dash and Raider as well. So with that team composition, I had a team where I almost had 3 Raiders because they're that good against it with the stagger break. Next we got ourselves Caligo, Miasma, or the Night, or the Fissure in the Fog. Now this boss is not terrible. I actually think it's a pretty fun fight overall. Of all the dragon fights, obviously we're comparing it to Bale the Dread from Elden Ring's DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, but I still think that this fight is pretty awesome. We haven't had a good frost dragon this fun in a while, so it's an enjoyable fight overall. But the thing is, if you get the Shifting Earths event where you can go to the mountain and get the frost resistances, it makes this fight so much easier. So as long as you have that Shifting Earth active, this is a good choice. And the big thing is the frostbite resistance. If you're able to remove that to as much as possible, it can help. This is another boss where it actually is better to sprint than dodge roll. It does have its frost breath, but it'll stay dormant and lay in a spot whenever it does its attacks. So as long as you know to run away from the attack and not stick in the middle there, it's not going to be that bad. Overall, I do think that this fight, if you bring fire weapons and know to sprint to the side instead of dodge rolling and panic rolling, it can make this fight a bit easier. The biggest problem is it flies around a lot. So if you're playing as Raider or Guardian, you're going to run out of stamina really quickly. Wilder is probably one of the best choices here due to the grapple attack, and if you have the relic that follows it up with a fire attack, you're going to shred through this fight. So Caligo, Miasma, the Night, I'd probably say it's B tier, top of the B tier. I think it's a little harder than Gaping Jaw once you know Gaping Jaw's poison weakness, which it actually switches off during the later phase of the fight. This one does have some challenges to it, knowing to run from its attacks and not go dodge rolling into them, and then flying around doing swooping attacks. But I think it's a fun fight and not as bad as some of the others here. Finally, we got Heolstor, the Nightlord, or the Night Aspect boss fight. This one is definitely a solid final boss that From Software has put out. I think that this is one of the more enjoyable boss fights in the game, despite being annoying the first time you do it. This one actually took me the most attempts to take down, and I think it's due to people not knowing to dodge roll and how to dodge roll against its attacks, because it swipes in a large area, but it's always going to be aggressive, and it gets more aggressive as the fight goes on, which I feel like some people get a little intimidated by. Dodge rolling towards it is going to help out. It also goes up into the sky and rips the sky apart, and that attack, you want to wait for the dodge. I see a lot of teammates dodging when he hits the ground. You want to wait till he hits the ground and wait a second for the ground to light up and then dodge, and you'll be safe. As long as you know to do that. I've always watched my teammates' health bar to see how hard this fight's going to be, because when he brings out that final phase, that's typically when everyone goes down. It's the first phase is not bad. The second phase, challenging, but going into that third phase when he starts using the ground erupting attacks often, that makes this fight so challenging. And most people's game knowledge is not there yet. I expect this boss fight to get a little bit better as people get more comfortable with it. I think Wilder is a good fighter to choose here, but the big problem with Wilder is his grappling hook will actually get you in the air of effect of a lot of his attacks because they're large arcing swipes. It's also cool, this boss is the Dark Moon Greatsword from Elden Ring, so that's a nice little piece there. But yeah, any character like Raider I think has a little bit of an easier shot. Recluse is probably the best here for this. I found having a Recluse on the team made all the difference in getting us closer to the end. Being able to use the Holy Cocktails and deal quite a bit of damage with those makes a massive difference here. You need to bring Holy damage, as that's his biggest weakness and his only weakness. You can apply Scarlet Rot too, but not poison. So there are strategies, but it's a fair fight. It's going to be challenging no matter what. And I actually think that this is the most challenging fight in the game. Some people said they got him on their first attempt. He is pretty tough if you have a team that doesn't know what they're doing, and it's an RNG based game. So I think that the hardest boss, Heolstor, and then Fulghor, the champion of Nightglow, or the Darkdrift Knight. So Night Aspect, Darkdrift Knight, and then the Equilibrious Beast, the Fissure in the Fog, the Gaping Jaw boss fight, Sentient Pest, the Augur, and then Tricephalos is the easiest. If you know Augur well and you have a lightning bow, you can put that in the D tier. It's the easiest boss in the game, easier than Tricephalos. But let me know your thoughts on this tier list for Elden Ring Nightreign, as I've taken down these bosses a few times now. I just want to hear others' opinions on this. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed, and I hope you have an incredible day. We'll see y'all next time.